I have about a million different ideas for videos I really want to share with you guys, but let's first of all establish what's going on with Guild Wars for the newsy side of things, for those of you who may have missed it. Now, today's currently Monday. Tomorrow is pretty widely anticipated to be a big trailer day for the next episode, but there's some interesting stories to do with that and other things going on with the game that I haven't talked about yet on the channel. I wanted to let you guys in the loop and give you my 2 cents. So first of all, this idea of a trailer and episode 2, well, there was an update on that last week. Last week, a lot of us thought the trailer would be coming, and we would be one day away right now from actually being able to play the new episode. But that didn't happen. In fact, a fortnight ago, it also kind of felt like we'd be ready for episode 2. Remember, the devs expressed that a new episode would come about every 2 to 3 months. And the Path of Fire, post-Path of Fire 1 Episode 1 came out perfectly fine, but this one now, they're really hitting the end of that window. And that's not too big of a deal for me, I don't mind too much, but this is the first time, really, they've ever gone this late in the window. This is the longest wait we've had to have between 2 episodes, and again, with the sheer size of them these days, I don't know whether that's too much of a big deal. I only just got around to finishing a lot of the triple release stuff, but the devs did put a post out explaining that just when we were expecting the trailer that never came last week. I'll read it out for you guys. It comes from Mike himself, who of course is the game director. He says, "Hey everyone, we're fast approaching the end of our 2 to 3 month cadence window for Living World episodes, and this morning we were hoping to unveil episode 2 trailer along with the announcement of its release date. However, as we were preparing the episode for launch, we discovered issues that we want to take additional time to process to make sure it lives up to our standards. Once we've nailed down the last few details, started the process for moving the build to live, and are confident when the episode will launch, we will release the trailer. Thank you for your patience and bearing with us as we put the finishing touches on episode 2. We look forward to playing the next chapter of Living World with all of you once it's released. Thanks, Mike." So again, I think my tolerance, I don't know about you guys, some of you may think if it's, you know, anywhere later than 2 months, if it's not the earliest point in the window, then the devs are messing up. Some of you might think that it's okay as long as they hit the end of the window. I'm quite a lenient guy. I'd probably be alright even if it was late 3 months or even like 4.5 months into the window. I wouldn't be too upset as long as the content itself is good. What I would rather is they do take the time to finish it, because I still look back at stuff like The Crack in the Ice, right? Where we have story and an unfinished boss fight and just weird stuff, and that will forever be there in the game. ArenaNet have demonstrated that they're really not interested in going back and making substantial changes to existing episodes. So forever, A Crack in the Ice will be a mediocre blip down in the story. I think that kind of sucks, so I would rather do the little bit of the wait to make sure, as they explain there, their finishing touches are actually in place. Maybe some of you guys aren't more lenient. There's a more optimistic way of looking at this as well, as in, wow, maybe they're delayed because there's so much more content coming. I'm not sure I really stand by that. If you actually look at episode 1, and I'm not talking about the fact that we had a big fractal with it and the raid with it and whatever other changes, but just the map, like bringing Istan, Path of Fire and the existence of mounts are demanding these huge maps now that they're filling a lot. They're putting races in them, they're putting adventures in, they put 2 adventures into this one as well. There's a lot of like extra parts of the releases that weren't there in Season 3 that now they have to contend with in Season 4, and I wonder if it's just that extra scope that they might be struggling with. I really don't want to see scoping issues. I don't want to see it go like Season 2, where we had the Dragon's Reach, which was a patch they basically had to split in half. I think all of that stuff kind of sucks. There's also, I guess, the potential that because this was over the holidays, it messed them up a little bit. Developers are humans too, apparently, and they get these holiday things. Pretty gross, I know, but there you have it. Right, so that's one big thing. A little bit old at this point. It's from last Tuesday, but there you have it. And tomorrow, hopefully, we will get the trailer. Does it mean that the next trailer will suddenly have released very quickly afterwards? Who can say? Moving on, there was another development right around Christmas, so I'm really bringing you this news quite late here. There was another thing on the forum, which I often don't browse too much. It's from Gail Gray, and it's on a new initiative that the devs are going for to communicate with us. This is kind of one of those fluffy, weird things to talk about that I never really believed in very much, but as I get older, I think I am starting to believe in it more. I really think communication is super important. When I look at, like, other game developers and the way that they talk to their communities and the way they have, like, established moments where they discuss very clearly what all of their goals and ideas are, I think that stuff's really huge, because it allows the community to not be upset when their expectations aren't met. It allows the community to deliver more organized and structured feedback. It presents a sense of cohesion that otherwise you wouldn't see. PvP for Guild Wars right now, I think, is in a place where people would take it a lot more seriously. It's not just that there aren't big prize pools and tournaments being ran, but it's because they don't get too much communication from the devs, but we'll talk about that in just a second. On the topic of the AFCs, it seems the devs are taking bolder steps in that direction here. So this is what Gail says. She says, as we look to the start of a new year, we want to let you guys know about an exciting new initiative we're going to offer here on the forums. Those are bi-weekly ArenaNet forum chats, AFCs, with Guild Wars 2 developers or development teams. These chats will be our take on the concept of a developer ask me anything. The Guild Wars 2 AFC series will begin in February. On a bi-weekly basis, an individual dev or team of devs will join the forums for a few hours to engage with you in real time on the topics you care about. You can create a thread to ask a question, give feedback, express a concern, or share a kudo. You can also join an existing thread to share your thoughts on the topic at hand. As always, we'll be talking about the game as it is at the current time, rather than focusing on future development. Although it's always possible that some predictive information will be shared. Also, it goes without saying that a 2-hour event, it's likely we won't be able to get to every thread that's created, nor answer every question that may be raised. However, the benefit of players and the developers sharing ideas during these sessions could have far-reaching benefits, and we hope you'll join us. First order of business will be setting up a guest list, so please share your ideas for dev or dev team participants. If you would also like to give a little idea of what you'd like that person or team to take part in, that'd be very helpful. We look forward to seeing you. So basically, there's an invitation right now. You can go on the forums and express what devs you want to see in the earlier AFCs, and then they'll start rolling different guests in. So I do have a lot of thoughts on this. First of all, I don't think a forum is a particularly great format for as a tool for a real-time chat, but I like the idea of lots of threads can be spawned and then people will just go in and post them. I anticipate it to be a lot like the developer AMAs, but I do think it's important that they go on the forums, and I'll tell you why I think it's important that they go on the forums, because as much as I don't use them, I do understand people being a bit frustrated that the official place where you discuss Guild Wars 2 gets less communication from the devs sometimes than Reddit does. Despite the fact that, Reddit is sort of a third-party thing. Reddit's where the big AMA celebrations go on. In some ways, I've always respected the devs for going to Reddit, because they can't moderate so heavily over on Reddit. They really are open to the wolves over there, and then they actually engage fully with the community over there. They'll just ignore certain topics for probably too long, like Wild vs. Wild, when they don't have anything to say. But that comes down to their stance on not talking about future content, rather, I think, than they don't like talking about it. So, it's good that the forums will get something at bi-weekly cadence. That does mean that the forums will have far more developer interaction than the Reddit threads do, because they only come, once every quarter, essentially. And I think that that's going to be nice for people. Obviously, I'm going to say I think a weekly basis would be great. I think if people get in their schedules every 7 days, let's go to the forum and discuss Guild Wars 2. That's a lot more powerful than hoping people will get a bi-weekly schedule. Weekly schedules are just sort of easier to get used to. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they go. The other funny thing is, obviously, I'm producing this video for you guys quite late in February. And where have they been? Well, it kind of got really quiet throughout January and early February. But players have asked, hey, what's going on with the AFCs? And the devs have said, yes, it is still coming. We just need to sort some other stuff out. So a little bit of a delay on the main patch and a little bit of a delay on the AFCs, but looking pretty strong. And if these start coming in, I mean, that's something that will make the community and game on a broader perspective even better than we were in the Season 3 days. So obviously, I think that's very cool. And just as I do with the AMAs, if the devs get off their bums and do this, and they do it well, you can expect that content from me. I'll do sum-ups and summaries, and I'll discuss things and give you my 2 cents as we go forward, so you can stay fully in the loop, even if this is just what you're following. You don't want to go to the forums themselves. Sticking with the forums even still, another thing that was first posted a while ago from Ben, but has been very recently updated. There is actually a PvP roadmap. This is not actually on the wiki for upcoming features. They don't seem to have cross-referenced this over here. But there's a message from the PvP team that reads this. The following list contains a selection of changes that are currently on the PvP team's backlog. The list is not all-inclusive. It only includes features that have been started already. So they've got other ideas that aren't going to be on the list. Let's keep that in mind. He says, keep in mind that plans do change, priorities shift, and projects always take longer than we'd like. Some of the improvements are many months from completion. and some may be removed if our priorities shift, and if that's the case, we'll update the post in the future. So this is being very well updated by Ben. Some people think that ArenaNet don't care about PvP, that they've got no one working on it. There is a list of stuff here, and another big profound thing we'll get to in a second. But yeah, so I just wanted to read this out and talk to it. I know a lot of you guys listening to me right now aren't too into PvP right now, but I certainly am, and I wanted you guys to see what they're going for. So first of all, leagues, they're going to make some enhancements to matchmaking, and those are actually already live. Those went out with Season 10. And they're going to keep trying to tweak them. They're changing automated tournaments a little bit, or hoping to. They're going to investigate Swiss-style tournaments. They're going to increase the capacity of teams, so you can have even more people joining. They're going to have special tournaments. I don't know what that means, really. Maybe a certain specific rule sets, maybe exploring what some of the hot join arenas can do. I'm not sure at all. Maybe tournaments that proc at specific moments, and even on-demand tournaments, as I said there. So players will have the control, or devs will have the control, to actually be able to trigger a tournament at the exact time that they like. I don't know how rewards and things would work for that. I don't know if that would just be a partner program associated thing like spectating tournaments currently is. There's all kinds of juicy stuff we could speculate with that. Then they've got maps. They're looking at invalid path to target spots. So that's actually kind of a really cool part of the gameplay right now, jumping onto a specific area so that people can't teleport to you because there's no way to walk to it, is actually a huge part of playing counterplay and a really fun aspect of Conquest at the higher level. So hopefully the invalid paths to target that the devs are fixing are only in places where you wouldn't expect it, where you get an invalid path and it's like, well, there is a valid path, you can see it. They say that's ongoing, and if you have any that you notice, you can submit them to them, and they will try to fix those. So that's good. They're adding 2 more 2v2 maps. People forget about this all the time, but there is a 2v2 game type and map in the game now. It's Hall of the Mists. They're adding a new one called the Asura Arena, which you guys will remember I did a video way back. You can type this into the YouTube search bar if you like. Wood and Potatoes PvP map data mine. I did a video, a Terraria 3D video, where I showed off 16 prototype maps the devs were working on, and one of them was a very small Asuran arena. So maybe we'll see the final version of that. They've got an unnamed 2v2 map that they're looking at as well, and most importantly and most excitingly to me, they're doing a Path of Fire themed or desert themed Conquest map, which is very good, and that's what I think at the moment they should be double downing on. Skyhammer was having adjustments, which went through in a very recent patch. Faux fire adjustments. They adjusted the Lord mechanic very recently. And I guess that's what they were talking about, so that's good. On the reward side, they're adding more obsidian weapons. You remember a selection of those came up before. I already talked about that on a recent video. Group 1 release. Group 1 will probably come with Episode 2. They're adding another set of PvP armor, like an improvement. I hope that this is what the precursor armor turns into as you start to upgrade it into legendary PvP stuff. That would be great. And they're going to keep adding those special rewards for the winners of the tournament, so that's very good. And some quality of life team health bars and standard friendly models, so you can standardize what your allies look like. If they do that, then they might unlock even more stuff like combat tonics in PvP, auras in PvP, and all of those things, because it won't matter because you can cut all of it away, which would be pretty fantastic in my opinion. So yeah, that's a really important post, and I hate to say that I missed it for ages, but that's some pretty clear transparency on all the different things coming to PvP, and I like a lot of what I see there. Maybe we can do a more detailed look at it in the future as that continues to get updated, but it's sandwiched in with the other news here, so I guess we'll leave it there. Sticking with the forums even still, there's another post, and this is a really huge one. Are you guys seeing how much the devs are communicating at the moment and how much is going on in the forums? It's really snuck up on me. But so there's another big thing. They're talking about upcoming balance. So there's an amazingly profound post. What it's talking about is PvP and world versus world balance only. They're going to put a patch in the game that is specifically dedicated to those modes. It has nothing to do with PvE. It's only about build diversity and stuff in the more competitive formats. I think it's a really, really great thing for many, many reasons. The first of which, though, is they're communicating balance on a broad scale before it comes out, so the player base can actually throw their input and maybe tweak it before it hits, which is something people have been requesting for a long time. They did already explore this idea, if you remember when they did the big sigil revamp for PvP a while ago. Well, they're doing a similar thing here again. It's a huge post, okay, and I've actually already talked about it over on Twitch for 2+ hours, like just a huge, long, detailed discussion about everything that's in there. And you'll be able to find a link to that if you guys like. I can't spend 2 hours in this news video talking about it here, but I will go over some of the highlights. The Magi's amulet, the final healing power major stat amulet, is being removed from the game. So they really care about getting that deadliness up, and this will have a pretty profound effect on especially firebrands that are out there. It's going to force the firebrands to have less vitality. They'll be more focusable in the team fights. If you guys have been watching me closely, you'll know I actually think that over on the competitive side, I've really liked the balance recently. I've really liked it. Another fantastic change, and something that I don't think you'll find anyone arguing against. They're nerfing the amount of passives and the relevance of passives in Guild Wars 2. PvP and competitive formats. So what I'm talking about are traits like Defy Pain for the warrior. What this means is that when the warrior gets struck below 50% health, they get automatically immune to damage for a period of time. And then it goes away, and then you can start fighting them again. That's totally passive. It means that they can be extremely brain dead about their positioning and all kinds of things and be saved by these traits. Now, at the higher level, people actually play intelligently around those traits and know those traits and know those limits because they're there, and there is skill-based play to them, but I think it affords more negative opportunity and sort of brain-dead play than it does very good. And it never feels fun to die because of a passive. There's tons of stuff like this in the game. Like when you get CC'd, automatically CC them and so forth. So what the devs have done is they've kept them in the game. They will still be options. And in many cases, I actually think they'll still be meta slots and you'll still pick them. But they're on much longer cooldowns now. So the counterplay for these traits is like now much more effective. If you see a warrior with their balanced stance, right, auto trait, you can pop that early CC and know that that won't be up for a reasonable amount of time now, so you can actually counterplay it at a later date instead of it just very quickly recharging. I really like this change. I think it's a fantastic thing, and it makes the PvP experience a lot more credible. So there's some other stuff as well. They're buffing generally underutilized stuff. It won't necessarily become meta for very high-level leaguing, but this opens it up to be a lot more fun in hot joins. It makes it a lot more fun in bronze, silver, unranked, less competitive areas, and for that reason, I think that this is all very good as well. So there's a wide range of super underused stuff that's all getting big buffs, like most of the resurrection skills that you haven't seen anyone use for years are getting very significant cooldown reductions, and then certain weapons as well. I won't go through all of them, but like Mace Offhand for Warrior is getting good buffs in PvP. Dagger for Weaver specifically is getting buffs in PvP. Nobody uses that. So yeah, I think that this is all really good. Most of the balance I sincerely agree with. It would take me 2 hours to unpack it all for you, so I won't. But the last thing I will say is the power of a post like this. It's a powerful, incredible thing for the devs to do, not just because we can provide feedback before it goes in, but because one of the main things, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I think that goes on the competitive side of the game, is people think that the devs don't take it seriously, or don't care about it, or don't look specifically at it. There's this sense that all they care about is PvE, that all the resources go on PvE, all the balance is raid-minded, and so on and so on and so on. I've never really felt that that's true, but the devs need to communicate well to those specific areas of the game that it's not. And so what they're doing here with this post is implicitly saying something to the community, and that's, yeah, we care about the competitive balance. We are doing a post about it and a specific patch just for you guys. And there is a suggestion that this isn't the only one. This is going to become like a steady thing for the game. And that's great as well, because that communicates all kinds of things about what they care about, and it's something that many of us have asked for ages, which is prominent, specific skill splitting. So I really think it's very powerful. I think that a lot of people will gain a bit of confidence and wind in their sails from this, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. So yeah. So that's most of the forum stuff. Really the last thing that I've got for you guys is a Reddit post, that basically somebody did a thread saying, let's talk about the horrid state of Fallen Masks adventure and how it's almost unwinnable, which is a forum thread premise I utterly disagree with. You guys have seen me on videos go from a complete noob on these adventures to being frustrated with them and struggling with them and not knowing how they work, to getting the hang of it, to finally getting gold and consistent golds, and really learning the underlying mechanics and loving and celebrating what those adventures are. And to really get into those, you kind of need hard goals on the golds. But apparently the Guild Wars 2 player base still wants things a lot easier. Apparently it's completely unacceptable. And so the devs come in and they say that they will be nerfing them to make them all nice and easy, so you can just zerg around the Heart of Thorns maps and get everything instantly. So there you go. Fallen Mask is getting 30 seconds easier, which completely strips it of like learning the routes and the fun part of it. Shooting Gallery gets 30 seconds easier. Scrap Rifle Field Test gets 30 seconds easier. And the Haywire Punch-O-Matic Battle gets 25 seconds. This is already easier easier based on... these have already been nerfed to be easier, and now they're doing it even more so. What can I say? The state of PvE, it really has got to a point where I don't think MMO players in general want to work for things, and the devs are, you know, they're putting in patches to allow you to play the game in that way. So there you have it. That's most of the stuff, and of course, with the state of the game right now, what we're mostly looking at is tomorrow, trailer, and potential release of the episode hot on its heels. So that's what we're looking at. On the notion of the state of the game, by the way, guys, I'm thinking about doing one fairly soon to let people know what's going on in 2018. Hopefully I'll get around to that. Last year I wanted to do a state of the game as well, but the enormous Heart of Thorns review came out, which essentially was a state of the game. Now, it was a huge, massive, monumental, epic thing that you had to watch through, but it was comprehensive. This year, I think I want to do a state of the game, and quite early this year as well, where I say, here's what's changing, here's what's changing, here's what's changing. Because I think there's exciting stuff pretty much across the board, especially with the big Wild versus Wild stuff coming up that I've discussed. So we'll have like a video with that all in one place, and that should be pretty fun to do too. But there you have it, guys. You are officially in the loop. This opens me up to be prepared for whatever the new episode stuff is, and of course, getting around to all the juicy story things and stuff we missed way back when POF itself actually came out. It feels good, guys. It feels really good. All the projects that I've had wanting to do are now all settled, and I see freedom. It's like I'm in green fields and the sun is shining. Oh, it's good. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about any of this stuff. The more discussion down there, I mean, I really do care about the comments on videos like this, so give me some discussion, give me some stuff to bounce off of, respond to some other people, and we'll see what you think. Cheers, everyone. Keep it civil. I'll see you soon.